another would seem to be a natural kind of plot element is the idea that it's Swan Lake and the ending of Swan Lake. But I understand that that is not originally what Aronofsky had in mind in terms of centering around that particular ballet. Do you know what he was originally thinking, or?
Well, the old script was the play, which which we never really saw in those scripts. We never went to the play. We always stayed in the apartment. And Hines actually said to me that, oh yeah, he watched Repulsion on TV one weekend, and it gave him the idea to do the movie. So it was very Repulsion, like, if you haven't seen the movie, the woman's in her apartment and she just goes crazy. So we hadn't decided, and maybe he had decided on Swan Lake, but I suggested it to him based on what he wanted with the characters and what it was going to be between these two girls, that this would be, the perfect division that he was looking for. And so that's how we did it. I mean, I went over synopses of, a lot of ballets. But
it just seemed to me that it was such a natural way to approach the film, in that Nina says early on she wants things to be perfect, and of course that's a sticking point with the director of the ballet, saying, I don't want you to be perfect, I want you to be you, and I want you to do what you feel. But of course in the end, she makes it perfect by what happens to her. So it just seems that it was such a natural, almost beginning point, and to work backwards from that. But that's not the way it worked in terms of creating this story.
Right. Well, when we were putting it in the ballet, yeah, that's the ballet we started out with. That's the title I chose, and that's what stuck. So in that way, yeah, that was the natural starting point. But the characters had already been created in the same way without that ballet. So, it did go backwards. We didn't think, what could we make that would be like Swan Lake? We had these characters who were in this situation.
Mm-hmm. And now so the other part of this, we have the ballet, and then you have this sort of psychological aspect of the film, the paranoia, the borderline, I suppose, horror aspect of it. So how much of that was your doing, and what kind of research do you need to do for that?
I get a lot of jobs doing psychological horror, and actually I got paired up with Darren by HBO. He had sold them a show about a haunted housing complex, and they said, oh, okay, well, you have to have John write it for you, because I had written like 3 pilots for them. So that's how we met. So, but really a lot of that, the whole psychological thing was from the very beginning, years before I got there. And it was, after I was there, more of the horror stuff, like the stabbing in the face stuff, that stuff came. And the wacky talking paintings came after me. But,
okay.
So I have no explanation for that.
We'll leave it at that. So sometimes we see, especially from Hollywood, we'll see trends in kinds of films, and can we expect to see, I remember a few years back, there seemed to be a whole slew of sort of alternate reality movies that had come out, and I guess we had one recently with, Inception. There seems to be another one coming out with, gosh, who's the name Yes, thank you. What's the name of that?
Adjustment Bureau.
Adjustment Bureau. Thanks.
So
Do you have some insight into is that what happens? Do they producers lock onto a trend and say we got to get a picture out like this? So, what can we do? Or are these things really, as we've talked a little bit earlier, been brewing for a long time and it's more coincidental?
I think what happens is a lot of projects. There's so many projects, so many scripts, and producers trying to make them for years and years. And then this comes out, and they spend 13 million and made 200 million, and then other producers with projects like that are able to go to the financing people and say, hey, that movie made that much. I have this, it's ready to go. And that's why you'll have a little glut of similar movies. Now, it's hurt me before with movies where it's like some movie similar, not just like a movie, comes out and fails, and then, I know a project I'm working on, they're gonna cool on it because they don't wanna make that kind of movie again. The King's Speech actually just helped me because I have, I have scripts about Houdini and about Charles Lindbergh, which are more, like I had this Houdini script, and then the Sherlock Holmes thing came out, and they said, no, there has to be action and fighting, and then they bought like an action fighting Houdini movie. But then a movie like The King's Speech comes out, and they say, hey, that could make money if we just stick to history. No one's ever seen that. And then they'll pick out those things that they're all already there. It's not like someone sees a trend and then they make the movie. It's kind of like they're all there.
There's a bank of these unproduced.
It's like all the fairy tale movies that are coming out,
Right.
which I had one, which was killed by another fairy tale movie. So.
Okay, well, that happens in fairy tales.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: what do you yourself like to write about? And do you write for yourself at all, or is there not time for that? How does that all?
Yeah, I usually only have time to write a script for myself usually in August is the dead period, and I can write a script. Some years I can't even do that. But yeah, I like to write. I like to write on a variety of things, because I'll learn about different things and different people, and I like to write about things that I know nothing about because I know so little about so many things.
Okay, so let's get down to some, I guess, the practical aspects of writing. How does a writer go about writing? Do you go to an office? Do you work from home? Do you set time aside? Do you do it when you feel like it? How does that all, for you, how does that work?
For me, I usually, I kind of swing through periods of a lot of energy and no energy, and I usually work all through the night because I have a family and I have a lot of sitting around and watching TV to do during the day. So I'll write during the night, and then I'll, depending on whatever deadline is coming up, I'll start writing 14, 15 hours a day, and then finish. But yeah, some writers, they're really good, they're really disciplined, they'll go on to write 2 hours a day, and they can do it, and that's great if you can do that, but I don't have the kind of life where I could do that, I don't think. And it's hard because, sometimes you'll have 2 or 3 jobs at the same time, and you just have to work harder during those periods and then kind of rest when you can, when you don't have any work.